The Book of Genesis, Chapter 5, the Sunday School Bible. Copyright, the Sunday School Bible, LLC, 2025, all rights reserved. The Sunday School Bible, SSB, and the Sunday School Bible logo are trademarks of the Sunday School Bible, LLC. Chapter 5, prior to 3000 BC. Generations from Adam to Noah. This is the book of the generations of Adam. On the day that God created man, he made them in the likeness of God. He created male and female and blessed them. He called their name Adam on the day they were created. Adam dies at 930 years old. When Adam was 130 years old, he had a son in his own likeness, after his image, and named him Seth. Adam lived another 800 years after Seth was born. Adam also had other sons and daughters. Adam died when he was 930 years old. Seth dies at 912 years old. When Seth was 105 years old, he had a son named Enoch. Seth lived another 807 years after Enoch was born. Seth also had other sons and daughters. Seth died when he was 912 years old. Enoch dies at 905 years old. When Enoch was 90 years old, he had a son named Canaan. Enoch lived another 815 years after Canaan was born. Enoch also had other sons and daughters. Enoch died when he was 905 years old. Canaan dies at 910 years old. When Canaan was 70 years old, he had a son named Mahalalel. Canaan lived another 840 years after Mahalalel was born. Canaan also had other sons and daughters. Canaan died when he was 910 years old. Mahalalel dies at 895 years old. When Mahalalel was 65 years old, he had a son named Jared. Mahalalel lived another 830 years after Jared was born. Mahalalel also had other sons and daughters. Mahalalel died when he was 895 years old. Jared dies at 962 years old. When Jared was 162 years old, he had a son named Enoch. Note, this is a different Enoch than the one listed in chapter 4, verse 17. When different individuals are mentioned with the same name, the SSB adds the number 2, 3, 4, and so on to the end of their name. In using this format, the reader's pace does not slow down because they categorically know which individual they are reading about. Additionally, these names are listed in this manner in each genealogy chart to provide a visual learning aid to the reader. Therefore, since in chapter 4:17, the name Enoch was used, this Enoch in chapter 5 will be listed as Enoch number 2. Jared lived another 800 years after Enoch number 2 was born. Jared also had other sons and daughters. Jared died when he was 962 years old. God takes Enoch number 2. When Enoch number 2 was 65 years old, he had a son named Methuselah. Enoch number 2 walked with God for 300 years after Methuselah was born. Enoch number 2 also had other sons and daughters. Enoch number 2 lived 365 years. Because Enoch number 2 walked with God, he disappeared one day because God took him. Methuselah dies at 969 years old. When Methuselah was 187 years old. He had a son named Lamech number 2. Methuselah lived another 782 years after Lamech number 2 was born. Methuselah also had other sons and daughters. Methuselah died when he was 969 years old. Lamech number 2 dies at 777 years old. When Lamech number 2 was 182 years old, he had a son. Lamech number 2 named his son Noah, saying, "This one will comfort us in our work and in our toil of our hands, caused by the ground, which the Lord has cursed." Lamech number 2 lived another 595 years after Noah was born. Lamech number 2 also had other sons and daughters. Lamech number 2 died when he was 777 years old. Noah. When Noah was 500 years old, he had the following sons: Shem, Ham, and Japheth.